Kids here today to do some fun and exciting Halloween themed STEM activities. It's a great time to get some potions and motions and some engineering going on. The first experiment that we're going to do has to do with glow sticks. Now, I'm going to give you a little heads up that you have to do this one on your own to to really see the results. The camera does not do justice to the results of the experiment, but we could still have fun doing it together, or you can do it after this, because I bet you many children wear glow sticks when they go out trick-or-treating, because what do glow sticks do? They have light. But did you know there's all kinds of science that you can do with it too? So I have some glow sticks here, and we see that the glow sticks, what do they need to do to work? They need to be activated, right? And does anyone know what is inside the glow sticks? I bet you don't. Inside the glow sticks, there are chemicals. When you break it, it causes a chemical reaction. Inside the glow stick, there is fluorescent coloring and hydrogen peroxide. Now, hydrogen peroxide is used has many different uses. I bet you have some in your house, and we're going to actually use it for one of our other experiments. And so when the fluorescent material is mixed with the hydrogen peroxide, it creates light energy. And so in order to activate these, you have to bend it, and that breaks open they're like in little capsules inside here. So we're going to go through the scientific method to conduct the experiment. So my question to you is, what do you think, once these are activated, do you think that they will glow brighter or duller in hot water or cold water? And so that is the question. Then the next step when we do an experiment is called the hypothesis. And a hypothesis is an educated guess. So if you've ever done this experiment before, you might know. If you don't, what do you think? Well, if we have cold water, a glass of cold water, and we have a glass of warm water. And I'm going to activate them, and I'm going to put one of each in the glasses, and then I'm going to let them sit for a little while, okay? So to activate it, remember we call this a chemical reaction. What we have to do is we just bend it and break it, right? And then it will glow. And like I said, again, you're not going to see the results that you will when you do it by yourself, when you do it at your house. And there's many different ways that you can do this. If you want to change the experiment a little bit, well, you see this is a different color, isn't it? Okay, I thought they were the same, but it looks like they're not. So, but we still should be able to see if one's brighter. I'm going to do a third one too. And then I have this orangey one. See what color that one is. So I'm going to shut off the light so you can see what they look like activated. Okay, see that? They're glowing. All right, let me shut the lights off here. Here they go. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, very nice. So now, to conduct the experiment, I'm going to put one of these in cold water. Best probably to use the same color if you have them, just to compare have the same variable. But I don't have that right now, so we're gonna just put it like this. So this one is the cold water, it has the ice. This one is the warm water, okay? And I'm gonna just set them aside for a few minutes, and we'll come back to this experiment, okay? So it's a very simple experiment that you can do. Another fun thing that I saw is if you wanna put one in the freezer and keep it overnight, and the other one, just leave it out, and you'll be able to see the difference in the colors after a time. Oh, that one just popped out. All right, so we're gonna just let this go for a minute, and we'll go on to our second experiment, okay? The second experiment that we're going to do has to do with, I'm gonna turn the lights back on, has to do with static electricity. Static electricity is something that's found in your houses. It's a form of energy, right? Thunder, lightning is a kind of static electricity. There's positive and negative particles. And what happens is when the static is attracted, the positive and the negative are attracted to each other. And so in this experiment, you are going to need a balloon, and I made a little ghost out of tissue paper, okay? So now what I'm going to try to do, is I'm going to try to make the ghost dance using static electricity. So I'm going to do it without rubbing my head on anything and see if it works. So you can't really, okay, so there it is. And I'm seeing that the ghosts don't want to stick to the balloon, right? But if we charge up this battery by rubbing my hair, rubbing it on my clothes, if I have a carpet, if I had a carpet, I could go and rub my shoes. That forms an energy, right? And oh, look what's happening. The ghost is now wanting to dance. Let me see. One more time. Okay, here's the ghost. And there's dancing. Ooh, just like that. For some reason. So you see that the charge does not last very long. Let's see if I can get it to go again. And sometimes your hair stands up, right? Because it produces, here it goes. He wants to move around. You can make it move around. There it is dancing. Almost like magic, right? But it's not magic, it's science, it's static electricity. All right, so that's that. So let's now go to back to our glow sticks. So we've had them sitting in the cold water for a while, and we've had this is the warm water, and it's hard to tell. I'm gonna put the turn the lights off again and see if that makes any difference. Okay. And actually, the funny thing is that when I turn off the lights, the whole color of this changes. So that's a science experiment in itself. So if I take this out, this is actually orange if I'm looking at it in my light, and this is kind of like a purpley color. All right, so I'm going to turn the lights back on since that's not really realistic. Even though you can see them glowing better, it's not really a realistic example. All right, so the cold water, I take it out, okay, and here is the warm water. And if I was looking at this, like I said, the camera is not letting it really show. I would see that the one that was in the hot water seems to be glowing brighter. And the one in the cold water is more dull. And so I bet you they would neutralize if I let them set out. Like I said, another example is to put one in the freezer and keep one out, or put one in cold water and see what happens. Put one in hot water and one in cold water. You have to let it stand for a few minutes. Again, the science is that it is the chemical reaction is hydrogen peroxide with the fluorescent creates an energy to makes the light. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, try that one on your own. It's really fun. And you could still use them afterwards. So that's what else is great. So the next experiment that I have is another chemical reaction. This one, in this bottle, I have vinegar, white vinegar. It is, if I smell it, if I'm a scientist, I'm gonna use my senses to observe. If I observe the vinegar, it looks like water. But if I smell it, it has a scent to it. There are no bubbles, right? It looks just like if I shake it up, there's still really no bubbles in it. Maybe a couple, but nothing major, right? So just because it's Halloween and we wanna have a little bit of fun with this, I'm gonna color this, this vinegar green, okay? So if I observe the colors, it's going through and changing the color from clear to green. That way it'll make us see the experiment better, okay? And now I'm going to try to make a balloon blow up with this bottle, okay? So what I'm going to add to this balloon is baking soda. So I'm gonna put this funnel. This makes it easier to get the baking soda in it. And you're going to want to put probably about a teaspoon of baking soda into this balloon like this, okay? It does not have to be a Halloween balloon. You could use whatever kind of balloon you choose to do this, okay? So if you've ever made a volcano or done an experiment with baking soda and vinegar, you know, again, this is also called a chemical reaction, right? That when they mix together, they form a new substance. That's what a chemical reaction is. So if you've ever done this experiment before, without a balloon or maybe with a balloon, what happens when you mix baking soda with vinegar? What happens is it goes all over the place, right? It forms carbon dioxide bubbles. So we are going to, this is not wanting to go in this way. There's a stuck in it. All right. So we have some, all right, let me get some spoon and put it in here. So we are going to put some baking soda into this balloon. It's not working with my funnel. It should, but I remember that I tested this and it's probably still a little bit wet. So that's why the baking soda is not wanting to go in like it should. There it is. Now it's going in there. So like I said, about a teaspoon of baking soda, quite a bit so that you get a good reaction, okay? Now, I'm going to put it over the top of my bottle, and then I'm gonna count backwards from 10, and if you're doing this with me, make sure there's enough baking soda in there. It should not be filled up, but maybe like just enough that the bottom is filled. Make sure that this is very, that it's over the top, because you don't, and probably best to do this experiment outside if you can. But if not, just make sure you have something so that if you make a mess, you can clean it up real quick. So that you can see it. I'm gonna count 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there, what's happening? Can you see? So you can see that there are, that the balloon, the bubbles that it's created with the chemical reaction, instead of going all over the place that you would normally do if you didn't have something to cover it, there's no place for the air to go once it breaks, so it fills up the balloon, right? Pretty cool, huh? All right, that's another easy one to try at home. If you're doing it with me, I hope you had the same results. Like I said, you don't necessarily need a Halloween balloon, but if you want to go to the dollar store, that's where they're at. So again, now over time, you see that the bubbles dissipate, right? And the balloon will stay. I see that I hear something because I think it's not a good seal, but the balloon, we'll see how, if it'll stay expanded through the rest of the thing. So we'll go back to this one too, maybe if we still see what the results are of that. So there we go. So again, to recap what we did, we took vinegar, we put it at the end of in this bottle. There's really no recipe. You can put, if you have a smaller bottle, you can do that. You just need a small top so that the balloon will fit firmly over it. Remember, you put the baking soda in the balloon. What happens is a chemical reaction. Once they are mixed together, it forms carbon dioxide, and there's no place for the bubbles to go. If you didn't have and another alternative to try this is first try it without the balloon, and see what happens. And then once you then do it again, the exact same experiment, except this time put the balloon, you'll see the results are very different because there's no place for the air to go, so the balloon expands, okay? So that's my other experiment that I have for today. So with that, I have another chemical reaction one. It's just a good time to do some chemical reactions. So this one is really fun. If you have a pumpkin and you carve it out, it would really look cool. I did not have a pumpkin, and I tried it with another pumpkin that I had, but it just wasn't working. So we're gonna do it in a beaker, okay? So what you need for this experiment, you are going to need some, again, remember I told you we were gonna do an experiment with hydrogen peroxide? This is what it looks like when you buy it, okay? Again, it is used for first aid, for the treatment of minor cuts, and but you know, it's something that a lot of people have around their house already, so you might not even have to go to the store to do this. So you're gonna need hydrogen peroxide, you're going to need Dawn dish soap, and you are going to need yeast. Now, what is yeast? Yeast is, believe it or not, they use it to make bread. That's what makes bread rise, right? And it's really cool. I think yeast is such an interesting thing because it is actually a one-celled living organism. And that it almost, like right now, they're just little dots. You can't, nothing special about them. But when we add, they like warmth and they like sugar. And then that's what they eat. And when you give them that, they start to bubble up and they actually come alive, okay? And so this is gonna be what we call the catalyst. This is gonna be what makes this have a reaction. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add some warm water to this yeast. Again, if you have it at home, I want you to make some observations. If I have it here, it's hard to see, but it's basically beige in color. Right now, it doesn't really have a scent. They're little granules, like not much, little granules. And that's my observation. So when I add warm water to it, not hot, warm. Let's see if this is warm enough. No, this is not warm enough. I'm gonna add a little bit of warm water. I would put you would need maybe a teaspoon of the yeast to about 3 teaspoons of water, okay? And if I observe, and you're gonna stir it, okay? And you're gonna see that there's something that really changes with this yeast over time, okay? So I'm gonna kind of just stir it up a little bit. I'm stirring it up, okay? I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm noticing that it's starting to have an odor. I think it smells like bread. Some people think it smells really good. Other people think that it doesn't smell very good. All right, so I'm gonna just put this aside and get started with the rest of the experiment. So I'm gonna add some hydrogen peroxide. I better, you know what? Well, I think I'm gonna make a big mess, so I'm going to put this in here. Use the rest of this, okay? And it's clear right now, and because it's Halloween, I'm gonna do a little make some orange. So I'm gonna mix some colors. So I'm gonna who knows what colors make orange? The primary colors, red and yellow, right? So I'm gonna add some red to this. And then I'm going to add some yellow to this. And now I have some orange hydrogen peroxide, okay? So there it is, okay? Now I am going to add a squirt of Dawn dish soap. Okay, so now I'm gonna make some observations. What do I observe? Right now, I'm observing that it has just the Dawn kind of sunk to the bottom, and the orange color it's like there's no real bubbles or there's no real reaction or anything to it. So when I added the Dawn, not much happened. So now I'm gonna go back to my yeast. So if I'm looking, the difference between my yeast when I put the granules in and now, if you look at it, it is thicker. It's like a thick paste. Like I said, it has some scent to it. All right. Like I said, this will be really fun if you did this, if you had a pumpkin that you carved out and you put it inside there, and you'll see the results that'll happen. So, all right, are you guys ready? I'm a little worried about that I'm going to be making a big, gigantic mess. So if I have to move the computer, in fact, I'm gonna move it back right now so that if there is a mess, it won't. All right, are you ready? Again, count down. What is your hypothesis? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's going to stay the same? Do you think it's going to have the same effect that the vinegar and the baking soda did? Right now, you make your hypothesis. Okay, so now we're gonna add the catalyst to this. Pour it in here, and then just let it observe what is happening. Okay. I'm seeing that the amount that I put in is expanding a little bit. Okay. Do you see what's happening here? I'm seeing that it's getting the volume is increasing. Okay. It feels, well, right now it doesn't feel, it should feel a little bit warm. It's creeping up. Can you see that? All right, little by little. Here it goes. And depending on the yeast, your reaction might be longer than this or less than this. Do you see how it is getting taller and taller and taller? I wish I had some Halloween music to play right now while we're waiting for this. It's the suspense getting taller and taller and taller. Okay, look, it almost to the top. And boom, there it goes. You might know this experiment as elephant toothpaste. What happens is the yeast reacts with the hydrogen peroxide and it causes a chemical, it causes it to go really thick like this. And it's actually, if you feel it will not, you can touch it when you're, when you do this experiment, it actually should feel a little bit warm. That's called an exothermic reaction. And like I said, the yeast is what causes this. When we added the Dawn, and the Dawn helps the bubbles, helps them be more bubbles. So pretty cool, huh? Hope you enjoyed this one. I'm gonna go put this in the sink because I don't want it to make too much of a mess. All right. It's still going out. All right, so we have one more thing to do. I hope you enjoyed that one. That one was that's my favorite one. That, like I said, you might know this one as elephant toothpaste. What the experiment that we just did, again, I've seen it where they put it inside a pumpkin and it looks like it's just coming out, oozing out of its eyes and out of its mouth. So that would be a really cool thing. I did not have the right instruments for that, and so I just did it in that, but it had a really cool reaction too. If you have a ceramic one that has eyes, you can put it over the top of it and watch it happen. So those are just some different variations of the same experiment that you can do. So this last and final thing is going to be a little engineering project, okay? So many people, when you go, if you have candy corn in their house during Halloween or during the fall. And some people, they end up throwing away their candy corn because they maybe decide that they don't care for it as much as they thought they would. They're so cute, they buy them for decorations, but so with what I thought we could do is do some building with candy corn and toothpicks. Now, there's many different things you can build. You can build the season of spiders. So maybe you want to build a spider's web. Maybe you want to do something three-dimensional. Maybe you want to make like a haunted house out of candy corn and toothpicks. Use your imagination. Engineers, they solve problems. They think things through. They make a plan. You might want to make a design before you build. That's up to you, your choice. So I just wanted to show you what I have. So I have here, I have just a little cup. I have some candy corn and I have some toothpicks. And so with that, you can just start putting the candy corn at the ends of them and then building from there. Like I said, you might want to make a plan beforehand, or you might just want to wing it and do what you want. So you could try to make it strong. You could have different parameters as far as your build goes, and see what you can come up with. Okay, so if you don't have candy corn, you might want to use some other gummy kind of Halloween candy that you have. You might want to use marshmallows, those all gumdrops. All those things are good things to do to make some building with. The other thing that you can do with this candy corn is some experiments. I've seen where you can put some in water, put some in vinegar, put some in milk, and see what the results are. Okay. This concludes our experiment about Halloween STEM. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great Halloween.